We're settling down okay. So what looked like going by the SGX Nifty that it's going to be a bump up start hasn't quite turned out to be so. So we're quietly drifting around that 11,100 mark. The good thing is that the breadth today is positive. Indiabulls Housing Finance is holding up. There's Equitas looking good. There's Granules. And BEL is indeed the top liquid mover, up by about almost 8%. From within the Nifty, besides Indiabulls Housing, there's also Yes Bank, there's Lupin, there's Eicher Motors, Tata Steel and Bajaj Finance, which are seeing a fair amount of buying. But an important day, you've got the much awaited judgment today lined up by the Apex Court, the Aadhaar verdict. So stay tuned for that. 10:30 is when we hear that the verdict is going to be delivered, and be sure that we're tracking every minute of this big announcement, which just about impacts all of us. So we're tracking this case right here, and we're going to get you a 360-degree perspective. Keep watching for the Aadhaar news break, which is coming up ahead on ET Now. It's a 5-judge bench which is going to declare and hand over their verdict on Aadhaar. It's the final verdict in the Aadhaar case, finally. So 10:30 a.m. is when we're expecting the verdict to be out.
Okay, let's touch base with the management of Repco Home. A case for a chat here being NBFCs being under pressure, impact of higher cost of funds, and Edelweiss downgrading on adverse ALM as well as commercial papers from 9% share to total borrowing mix. Mr. R. Vardarajan, who's MD Repco Home Finance, joins in to discuss more. Mr. Vardarajan, great to have you on the show, sir. Thanks very much for taking out the time. Good morning. As in HFC, you have high borrowings from commercial paper market at about 9%. With the recent rise in short-term borrowings of nearly 90 basis points in just a few days, what do you make of the surge and the impact it may have?
No, our commercial paper borrowing is very less. It is hardly about 3 to 4% of our total liabilities only. And including NCD, it is only 17%. 83% of my liability side is from the banks and NHB. Okay.
Have you borrowed more from the commercial paper market in the last few days? If so, how much?
No. We have not borrowed much. In fact, our commercial paper commitment also in the next 3 months is hardly about 300 crores, which we have enough liquidity to meet with. Not much of commercial paper borrowing is there.
Okay. Well, would you have to borrow in the next few days, next few weeks to come?
No, there is no plan to borrow in the market right now, because we have adequate sanctions of credit by the commercial banks. Therefore, there are unutilized limit up to the extent of more than 1,500 crore for us, which can take care of the next 1 year requirement. Therefore, there is no immediate requirement of borrowing in the commercial paper, but we will watch the situation. If it is favorable to us, interest rate is favorable to us, we will definitely borrow, but right now there is no plan.
Why I ask? Because a lot of analysts, sir, on the street are saying that Repco has negative ALM gap for up to about 1 year bucket, and that you report ALM on a contractual basis. So if you could tell us how much is the ALM gap in the less than 1 year bucket, and do you then see a risk of ALM mismatch coming up ahead?
That's why I want to clarify to you, we have no such ALM mismatch in the next 1 year. See, as I told you, the commitment towards NCD, residual matured NCDs and CPs, totally it is around 500 crore only, for which we have adequate liquidity, and therefore there is no mismatch. Mismatch is not at all expected for Repco.
Okay, fair point. I'm glad that you're clarifying that, because, you know, there is a lot of fear and chatter with regards to lending right now in the markets, understandably so. Also, sir, wanted to gauge really, are banks lending to NBFCs right now? Do you see a risk of moderation from banks as lending towards NBFCs, and hence by how much do you then see your cost of funds rising up by?
No, see, as I told you, we have sanctioned limit by the banks, which can cater to our need for next 1 year, and that is under MCLR rate. There is no possibility of raising that rate further, because that is all sanction limit which is unutilized, being utilized for our requirement. But I agree with you that based on the current scenario, banks may be cautious, but they will select the companies which are doing good, and they will continue to lend. That's what most of the banks have clarified. They are not going to stop lending to NBFCs or HFCs, but they will be very cautious and selective. And therefore, the company, for the companies who are doing well, where there are no mismatch and all, I don't think any difficulty is going to be there for such companies, and they will continue to get the funds from the banks.
Right. So by how much do you think you can pass higher costs to customers? Because I think the worry is about the margin impact.
Yeah, you are right. You are right. See, when the cost of funds do increase in the recent past, but the advantage for the housing finance companies is most of the loans are in the floating rate. Particularly for our company, 90% of our loan book is in the floating rate. Therefore, we are having the ability to pass on to the customers. If you see our own banks, our own company's position, as on March, our minimum lending rate was 8.30%, and today it is 8.85%. So 55 basis points, which are actually the cost of increase during that period, has been passed on. And the floating rate loans are repriced once in 6 months, and fixed rate loans, which are around 10%, are repriced once in 3 years.
Right. There are also
therefore, we will be able to maintain the margin.
Sure, that's encouraging to hear. There are also concerns on slowdown in HFC growth, and we have already seen stress in state of Tamil Nadu, which forms nearly 60% of your book. Do you see moderate disbursements there?
Yeah, see, we are seeing there is increase in disbursements compared to the last year. But still we are waiting and seeing in states like Tamil Nadu, where the situation has to further improve. We only do hope that in the coming quarters the situation will improve and the disbursements will further pick up.